Happy New Year, friends. I'm so glad that we now get to put 2020 behind us and hopefully move on to a much better year. Now, with the start of any new year, some, if not most of us, are looking at starting some new habits. I'm hoping that since you're watching this, that you're wanting to establish or improve your dog training habit. Regardless of where you're at in the process, I want to share some examples from my life that I think may be useful for you and your dog. Howdy, I'm Al the Dog Trainer. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, thanks for watching. I'm hoping this information is really useful for you. If you've been watching for a while, now's as good of a time as ever to subscribe. I'm going to be devoting a lot of time this year to making this channel something very useful for you all. Okay, so let's get into the tips. So tip number one, when you are starting any kind of habit, the very first part of that is the cue. The cue is a thing that is going to tell your brain that it's time to take action. If the cue to take action is hidden, then it's really difficult for your brain to want to take action. Yes, you can override this with motivation, but don't count on that to be there all the time. So what can you do? Well, my advice is to make it really obvious to yourself that you should train. And how do you go about doing that? Well, your dog training equipment is a great way to remind you to train with your dog. Now, at least for me, I put my training equipment along the path in my home that I'm most likely going to travel. I like to leave the equipment on top of my dog's crate or on a hook heading out the door. However you choose to do it, make it really obvious to yourself. Okay, so now to tip number two. Making your dog training call to you in a way that gets you excited is yet another way to get better. Let me explain how this works using an example from my life. I love to drink coffee in the morning. It's very enjoyable for me. I also know that I need to train with Gabby. So on certain mornings, I will follow my training sessions with Gabby with the cup of coffee that I love so much. You see, when you place a new habit directly in front of one that you already love to do, the synergy that comes from that will help you enjoy your dog training even more. Can you think of some examples of things that you really enjoy? Leave them down in the comment section below. I'd love to know what gets you going. Okay, tip number three. Dog training can be hard. Not every dog is easy to train, and sometimes they have an issue that's really challenging and frustrating to deal with. I'm sure that you agree that if something is too difficult to do, then once your motivation is gone, it's really unlikely that you will keep doing that difficult task. Dog training is no exception. So what can you do about this? Well, for God's sake, don't make it too difficult for yourself. And how exactly does that work? Well, I believe that you can do almost anything for 2 minutes. That's right. 2 measly minutes of dog training might be where you need to start. You might be saying to yourself that such a small amount of time is very unlikely to make any kind of meaningful change. Well, if you only do it once, then yeah, it won't make that big of a difference. But if you did it 3 times a day for the next 14 days, you might find yourself starting to make some headway. Then, if you do those 2 minutes of training and then give yourself your favorite cup of coffee, I'm sure that you're going to get better at it. Okay, so now into tip number 4. It could be really easy to turn your dog training into a chore. If you do this, then sadly, you're going to be doomed to failure. I really don't want that for you or for your dog. Each tip that I've shared is an important part of the process of forming a personal, daily dog training habit, but without the step that I'm going to share with you next, it's pretty unlikely that you're going to succeed. So what is this crucial step? Immediately at the end of your training session with your dog, you're going to have to reward yourself with your dog. If that means snuggling with them, do that. If that means letting them lick your face, do that. If that means just talking to them in a silly voice, do that. Whatever it might be, just do it. Who cares what anyone else thinks? By doing this, you make your training sessions with your dog more than just that. You make them into an awesome bonding experience that is the reason that I think we call our dogs man's best friend. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that it's been useful for you. Would I be asking for too much? Like this video. That helps other people find it. Leave a comment sharing your thoughts. This helps me learn more about you and what you've got going on. subscribe to the channel. This tells me that I'm heading in the right direction with the channel. To make it worth your while, I've got a giveaway that will end on January 31st, 2021. I'm going to give one of you all a bag of dog food of your choice of up to $120. I'll leave details in the description of how to enter. Hey, thanks again for watching. I'll be back soon. Happy training.